party keeps rolling on. A little more of the full forecast coming up.
Thanks a lot for that, Curtis. And hopefully you had a great and safe night ringing in the new year. Well, families in Helena sure did yesterday, gathering to celebrate the new year in an explosive and educational way. Exploration Works rang in the new year each hour by celebrating different time zones with a ping pong ball explosion. Kids also had the opportunity to make New Year's wishes, decorate splatter cookies, and make some noisemakers with popsicle sticks and rubber bands. Education Director Sarah Filzer said she hopes the next decade continues to see more and more kids interested in science.
It's really important to bring STEM and STEAM and that scientific learning into the forefront, right? So we can get kids interested in science, we can get kids asking those questions and being curious. And if we can do it every day, starting on New Year's, that'd be great.
Filzer said in addition to welcoming young scientists in, they'll also be welcoming in a new exhibit at the end of the month focused on sound. And with many celebrating at bars and restaurants last night, the Cascade County Tavern Association was on hand to make sure people got home safely with their own shuttles and a few SUVs. They started at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday and provided free rides home until 3 o'clock this morning.
We want people to go out and have a great time, but we also want them to plan ahead, make sure how they're going to get home.
Now, all partygoers had to do last night was ask their bartender to contact the Home Safe Ride Dispatch, and then they coordinated the ride from there. Now, the Cascade County Tavern Association fundraises throughout the year to provide these rides for free on New Year's Eve, and last year, 2018, the association was able to provide over 100 rides in Great Falls. Now, according to the association, they had an average of 3 people per ride. That adds up to over 300 people who otherwise would have been on the roads. Well, Lewis and Clark County leaders have approved a temporary contract to make sure mental health services in the county detention center continue. The county commission voted on Tuesday to give short-term contracts to the Center for Mental Health through the end of February. The center will provide a mental health therapist in the jail during business hours and will be on call for crisis response there for the rest of the time. Now, Western Montana Mental Health Center had previously handled those operations, but declined to continue after county leaders made some changes to the services. The county is now looking to directly hire behavioral health staff for the jail, and they are taking proposals for a countywide crisis response team. Commissioners thanked the Center for Mental Health for taking on this temporary responsibility.
For any provider who comes and works with this population, our entire citizenry owes them a real debt, because this is very, very challenging work.
This is really important to get the short-term contract in place. It's a needed service. It's something we said we were going to do. We're providing these services, and they're only going to get better.
Detention center leaders say the majority of inmates need some behavioral health services. And Montana's Outdoor Legacy Foundation is raising money to remodel and expand the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center at Montana Wild. And the remodel would give visitors at Montana Wild more access to the ambassador birds. MTN's John Riley has more on the important educational role of these birds of prey.
Every day at Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks Montana Wild, people can see owls, hawks, and eagles roaming the education center with their handlers. These ambassador birds participate in regular education programs, and staff say when it comes to education, nothing compares to the real thing.
We have an enormous impact on, enormous beneficial effect on the public's knowledge of our wildlife, their appreciation, and therefore their support.
The birds come to Montana Wild from the nearby Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. Originally constructed for the rehabilitation of bears, the center now sees around 100 birds each year who were injured in the wild. The goal is always to prepare the animal to be released back into the wild, but that's unfortunately not always possible.
In some cases, after doing extensive work with them, we realize that they're just not going to be a good candidate for release. And in those cases, we will look at their disposition, their personality, and see if they would be a potential either ambassador bird for us here at Montana Wild or for another facility.
The center works on a very tight budget and depends on the more than 40 volunteers that care for the birds of prey, including feeding and cleaning cages. Those ambassador birds and their handlers end up meeting with thousands of children each year. Although the birds will never return to the wild, staff say these animals will have a much greater impact on the species as a whole, by helping educate the next generation on how to be good stewards and what makes Montana's outdoors so great.
You know, here at Fish, Wildlife and Parks, we're pretty fortunate. Many of us get outdoors, we recreate, but in some instances, especially with a lot of our youth, they're not getting that opportunity, and this gives them a chance to experience that animal and hopefully get excited about that species and conserving that species.
Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
Well, a second murder charge has been filed against a man involved in a March shooting near Missoula. It left 2 people dead and 2 more with severe injuries. On Tuesday, Missoula County prosecutors filed a deliberate homicide charge against defendant Jonathan Birch in the death of victim Julie Blanchard. Now, Blanchard died from her injuries in a Washington State hospital on June 3rd. Birch is now charged with 2 counts of murder for the deaths of Blanchard and Shelley Hayes. And he's also being charged with attempted murder in the shootings of Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Wade Palmer and Julie's son, Casey Blanchard. A trial date for Birch has been set for August 2020. And a phone scam going around Montana could put your personal information at risk. The Montana Highway Patrol has found that the scams in Billings and Missoula have been popping up recently, and here's how it works. Someone uses the internet to look up tow truck companies near me. Now, several pop up, but some of them are fake. They appear to be real though. They show pictures of a building and they even have fake positive reviews. But once you call the fake company, you're transferred to a call center where they demand your credit card information. Now, Attorney General Tim Fox says there's a couple of ways to protect yourself. One of them is never give your credit card information out over the phone, and demand to see letters of appointment from the Highway Patrol, which is a requirement of any tow truck business in the state of Montana. Well, still to come, a new experimental drug developed to help Alzheimer's patients could play a major role in slowing down patients' decline.
Here's a live look at McDonald Pass. Heavy snow, heavy, wet, slushy snow. We've got slippery conditions in parts of the state, just rain in other areas. I'll have more on the forecast coming up next.
Time now for your Storm Tracker weather with meteorologist Curtis Grevens.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year to you all. Snow in the mountains. We are grooming that snow right now. It should be a great ski day. Be careful getting to your destination here, and I'm going to explain why coming up. There's some real nasty, icy spots, icy patches out there. Not so much in Great Falls. 43 degrees, well above the freezing point. Very, very windy through the overnight hours. Some gusts off of the Rocky Mountain front as high as about 70, 80 miles per hour. In the Helena Valley, I know the number says 41 degrees, but it can be 41 degrees right up here at this level, and literally freezing still at the ground, right at the surface here. So around the Helena Valley area, we've got very, very slick spots out there on some of the roads, and it's spotty. And also on the sidewalks have to watch out. But the wind is kind of helping to scour out some of that cold air that's around the Helena Valley area. But you head west and we're at freezing in Missoula. There's been reports of freezing rain on the surface right up around Rogers Pass all the way down through Whitehall, places like that. So careful if you're traveling this morning, but look at that, the high line numbers into the 40s right now. Very, very windy, and so much so that semis are being rerouted off of Livingston here, off of the interstate, going around eastbound lanes here. So something to consider. Their high wind warning continues where you see that mustardy color, and then we've got a winter weather advisory, not for the Helena Valley area. It looks like it's for the mountains around town, like McDonald Pass and Great Divide, but still dealing with flooding here, and this is not going to go away anytime soon. The ice jam here along the Missouri River, and looking at a rise in the water because of that ice jam that acts like a dam blocking that water. Speaking of water, we've got rain coming down for some areas, but again, where you see the pink, that's where we've got a little freezing rain. And the rain falls as liquid, it hits the surface, it freezes on contact here. We had some last night into early this morning around the Capitol, all the way down through Winston, through Townsend here, but just some green, just some rain falling right now, but you head up into the mountains and that snow is coming down. Great Falls, a couple of showers, some rain out there around Fort Benton and the highwoods, but look at this pink here around Chester between the High Line and the Canadian border, north of Guildford, a little pink there. Freezing rain, very, very slippery, very icy in some spots. Just some plain old liquid rain, though, moving out through the northeast part of the state. And we've got some snow all the way down to Salt Lake City. If anybody's driving down there this morning, probably not a good idea to do so. But there you can see the mixed rain and snow showers that will continue today, and that wind is not going to shut off anytime soon. Snow showers mainly in the mountains here overnight tonight, but heading into Thursday, a little disturbance pushes through. More scattered snow showers, more wind here throughout a lot of the state, and heading into Friday, we'll have a little in the way of some snow in the western part of the state in the morning hours here. Snowfall amounts, look at that in the mountain ranges, and especially right down the Continental Divide. That snow will continue to pile up. So here's the forecast for today. Please be careful. I know you walk out the door, it's 41 degrees, everything's okay, it's just plain rain, but you drive 5 miles and you may run into some of those icy spots. Cold front going through, very windy out there for Thursday. Very windy with some snow showers heading into Friday. A little of that snow in the northwest part of the state. Look at the warmer air coming back in before another cold front comes through on Saturday with more snow showers and a lot of wind. Sunday, a lot of wind. This is going to be a very windy stretch here across the state. When I'm talking about a stormy weather pattern, I don't necessarily always mean that you got a foot of snow to be stormy. We could have unsettled weather and a lot of wind, and that's exactly what we're looking at here over the next 7 days. And again, around the capital, the mountain passes, please be careful because we've got some snow coming down.
Yeah, it's easy to be deceived with that nice weather and not pay attention to the roads. So thanks for the heads up on that, Curtis. Now turning our attention to some medical news nationally, a new experimental drug developed to help Alzheimer's patients is set to get its first run at testing. And researchers say that the drug could play a major role in slowing down a patient's decline. The disease currently has no cure, but this drug could help doctors move closer to one. Andrew Hyman reports.
Researchers here at Vasinex are no strangers to developing drugs, though this latest work could be a breakthrough.
It's very, very important for us.
The drug is called Papinemab, which is designed to help slow down some of the degenerative effects of Alzheimer's. Developers say the disease causes long-term inflammation in the brain.
But our drug is targeting more the inflammation and trying to reverse that process of chronic inflammation that occurs in the brain, and that can lead to a lot of cognitive decline.
The drug uses antibodies to block a protein which can cause the inflammation, among other issues.
So in blocking that protein, we can actually, prevent some of the damage that goes on early on.
The drug has shown promising signs in people who have Huntington's disease, which is similar to Alzheimer's.
So we think the earlier we could prevent some of this damage going on, the better off it could be for these patients.
Though with still a long road left before the drug can get approved, developers believe this could be just the beginning.
Hopefully within a year we have an answer from this trial, and that would lead to a possible next larger trial.
The trial could start in the coming months, and the project received $3 million in funding, including a $750,000 grant through the Alzheimer's Association. If you're interested, Fisher encourages you to speak with your doctor. And if your New Year's resolution is to lose some weight or maybe get just a little bit healthier, then this new diet trend might be on your radar. But does it work? We'll ease into fasting coming up next.
And now, Daybreak continues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, and Happy New Year. Chances you've heard about this, or maybe someone you know is trying it. I'm talking about intermittent fasting. It's a way to lose weight by paying attention to when you eat, not exactly what you eat. Lauren Petty reports.
When Sofia Cienfuegos was getting ready for her wedding last year, she turned to intermittent fasting.
I fast till 3 p.m. and then I start eating at 3 and I stop about 7 p.m.
Only eating during a 4-hour window over 3 months helped Sofia lose 10 pounds by her wedding day.
And I got to the weight that I wanted, but I do it also because I feel way better when I'm fasting.
A dietitian, Sofia is now working with Krista Verity, a professor of nutrition at the University of Illinois, Chicago.
I've been studying it for 20 years now.
One study Verity conducted found intermittent fasting works for weight loss.
We also saw really nice decreases in blood pressure, so it basically could contribute to heart health in general.
Those dieters followed time-restricted eating, one of the two main types of fasting. They fasted for 16 hours and only ate during an 8-hour window. Verity wrote a book about the other type called alternate day fasting. That's when you eat whatever you want one day, but then limit yourself to 500 calories the next.
With alternate day fasting, you get to basically get a day off dieting every other day.
I cannot wholeheartedly recommend it.
Jennifer Bruning, spokesperson for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, says there's concern fasting leads to feasting.
It can be one of the pitfalls of the diet, honestly, is that if we get so hungry that in our next time period of eating, we are indulging.
People don't binge, though, with alternate day fasting. We've shown that in dozens of studies.
Watching the clock may not work for everyone.
It's good for people that aren't frequent snackers.
But Sofia Cienfuegos says it's her method of choice.
Weight loss and overall energy and health would be the main reasons why I do it.
While the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics doesn't exactly recommend intermittent fasting, they have this advice for anyone who wants to give it a try. They say focus on what you eat when you can eat. Now we're talking about eating fruits and veggies and lean proteins. And also be careful not to binge. And also take a multivitamin for proper nutrition. And for those wondering about that eating window, you can shift that window around a little bit. It can be 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. one day or 2 to 10 p.m. another if you have maybe a late night out planned.
All right, good advice for the new year. Here's some more advice. Go slow over McDonald Pass or any of the mountain passes here. Look at that road surface, and we've got a lot of snow that has been coming down into the higher terrain. Here's the forecast for New Year's Day. Yes, some plain old rain coming down for parts of the state. However, we still have pockets of the state in some of the lower elevations where temperatures are hovering right around the freezing point. So there are some very, very icy spots out there. Mixed rain and snow and a lot of wind across the north central and northeast part of the state. Higher elevations, central Montana, seeing some snow here today, and around the capital, a little mix of rain and snow in the lower elevations, and that snow is flying in the mountains.
Stay where you are, because when Daybreak continues, we'll take a little trip around the world to see how different countries welcomed in the new year. But first, here's a look at what's coming up this morning on Court TV.
You're watching Daybreak.
Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for starting your new year with us. And as many here celebrated the new year with fireworks, so did partygoers across the world. In the United Arab Emirates, the new year was welcomed in with a fireworks display in Dubai. There was a massive display at one of the world's tallest buildings. And in Tokyo, tens of thousands of people gathered in the area to celebrate the new year there. Event organizers said more than 108,000 people packed this site here as they watched the countdown on the large electronic billboard. And over in Shanghai, over 2,000 drones took to the night sky to create a spectacular show. The drones were arranged in a neat array near the bank of the Hangpu River. My New Year's resolution is to work on my pronunciation of foreign words. The performance ended with the drones forming the numbers during the countdown to end the year and welcome in 2020.
That's my resolution too.
Weird. We really got to get talk about this beforehand.
We'll work on it together. We'll practice. Hey, we've got some snow coming down in the higher elevations. Please be careful heading up over the mountain passes. Happy New Year, everybody. We've got wind out there throughout the entire state. But really, if you're traveling today, planning on traveling, you're going to run into some rain, some wind, some icy spots on the roads, and also some of that snow into the higher terrain. So please be careful out there and look at just the unsettled weather. Not maybe necessarily cold weather, but we will have snow, there will be wind, and it will be kind of an interesting start to 2020.
Okay, thanks for that, Curtis, and stick around because in our next half hour, as 2019 came to a close, more people were caught getting dangerously close to Old Faithful and Yellowstone National Park. Stick around, there's more to come when Daybreak continues.
This is Daybreak.
Coming up this morning in the second half of Daybreak, after a carbon monoxide death here in Montana, what you can do and watch for to make sure you and your family are safe. Plus, the latest tourists caught risking injury at Yellowstone National Park, all for a selfie. Well, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us here for Daybreak to start your 2020. I'm Andy Curtis, and this well-dressed gentleman next to me, Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
Partying, keep going through the overnight hours into this morning. I love that Facebook page, the Yellowstone Idiots here.
Yeah,
So,
yep.
Yeah, I'll let you tell the news.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
don't
stick
spoil
to
it.
the weather here. But we've got some snow, and in some locations, it's been coming down as rain. And that's not a good thing because ground or surface temperatures are right around the freezing point here. There you can see, or barely see, the surface of McDonald Pass covered with snow here. Snow levels at about 6,000 feet, but down in some of the valley locations, like around the Helena Valley and on some of the very low-lying areas up along the Milk River here on the High Line, cold air trapped, and we've got liquid rain falling into that cold air that's right around the freezing point, and there are some very, very icy spots here. So please be careful. If it's raining on your outside or your windshield wipers, you'd see that it's rain. You're not so sure that the ground is not frozen and very icy. Please be careful driving and also walking out there. Temperatures well above the freezing point as far as a lot of these numbers say, but again, there are the little pockets in between where you've got some of those numbers close to the freezing point. Baby, New Year's baby, it's windy outside. You're going to be saying that for a few days here into the new year. Another baby, ice baby. It's very slippery in some spots of the state besides the snow. Again, freezing rain, so please be careful. And this party continues through New Year's Day, through the first weekend. I mean, the stormy, the unsettled party. More of the full forecast coming up.
Thanks for that, Curtis. And Lewis and Clark County leaders have approved a temporary contract to make sure mental health services in the county detention center continue. The County Commission voted on it yesterday to give short-term contracts to the Center for Mental Health through the end of February. The center will provide a mental health therapist in the jail during business hours and will be on call for crisis response for the rest of the time. Western Montana Mental Health Center had previously handled those operations but declined to continue after county leaders made some changes to the services. The county is now looking to directly hire behavioral health staff for the jail, and they are taking proposals for a countywide crisis response team. Commissioners thank the Center for Mental Health for taking on this temporary responsibility.
For any provider who comes and works with this population, our entire citizenry owes them a real debt, because this is very, very challenging work.
This is really important to get this short-term contract in place. It's a needed service. It's something we said we were going to do. We're providing these services, and they're only going to get better.
Detention center leaders say the majority of inmates do need some behavioral health services. And a second murder charge has been filed against a man involved in a March shooting near Missoula. It left 2 people dead and 2 more with severe injuries. On Tuesday, Missoula County prosecutors filed a deliberate homicide charge against defendant Jonathan Birch in the death of victim Julie Blanchard. Blanchard died from her injuries in a Washington State hospital on June 3rd. Birch is now being charged with 2 counts of murder for the deaths of Blanchard and Shelley Hayes. He's also being charged with attempted murder in the shootings of Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Wade Palmer and Julie's son, Casey Blanchard. A trial date for Birch has been set for August 2020. And a phone scam going around Montana could put your personal information at risk. The Montana Highway Patrol has found the scam in Billings and Missoula so far. And here's how it works. Someone uses the internet to look up tow truck companies near me. Of course, several pop up, but some of them are fake. They appear to be real, though. They even show pictures of a building and have fake positive reviews. But once you call this fake company, you're transferred to a call center where they demand your credit card information. Attorney General Tim Fox says there's a couple of ways to protect yourself. First, never give your credit card information out over the phone, and demand to see letters of appointment from the Highway Patrol, which is a requirement of any tow truck business in the state of Montana. Well, Tuesday, the County Commission honored a well-respected Lewis and Clark County volunteer firefighter. Commissioners approved a proclamation recognizing Don Zimmerman, who passed away earlier this month after a battle with pancreatic cancer. He was a longtime firefighter, first in Washington State and then with York Fire Rescue. He then became York's assistant chief. Leaders recognized him for his experience, knowledge, and for the work he did with other local first responders. Now, earlier this year, York Fire Rescue dedicated their new station under construction in the El Dorado Heights area in Zimmerman's honor. The county recognized on Saturday, January 4th, that day will now be Don Zimmerman Day. A proclamation and memorial service will be held for him that day. And the Bozeman Fire Department has reported an increase in calls after one woman died from carbon monoxide poisoning and another was hospitalized. MTN's Cody Boyer spoke with fire officials about how to protect yourself.
Carbon monoxide alarms are one of the most important things you can have in your house.
It's an alarm that no one wants to hear, yet it's the watchdog for an invisible threat.
Carbon monoxide is a colorless and odorless gas. You cannot detect it as a human. You got to have some kind of device, the alarm in your home, to detect that for you.
Since what happened at a home on 11th and Babcock in Bozeman, Bozeman Fire Chief Josh Waldo says they've received more calls, more questions from the community. But Waldo says the nature of the gas makes it hard to know when it's actually there.
Carbon monoxide call comes out the same as a gas odor, comes out the same as a strange odor.
Chief Waldo says carbon monoxide can impact almost anyone, almost anywhere. He adds prevention of something as unpredictable and dangerous as carbon monoxide can be simple, yet at the same time, it's unpredictable, so it should be done as soon as you can.
If they're not venting properly, that creates a situation where you could have carbon monoxide build up in your home.
Waldo adds a clogged chimney or unmaintained fireplace. Anything with a leaking pilot light could lead to the gas.
That's why it's important to have your appliances serviced on an annual basis by a professional.
That includes getting a carbon monoxide detector. A warning that could save your life.
It depends on the person. There's a lot of variable factors in there that are going to make each situation a little different.
In Bozeman, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
The fire chief went on to say it's important to read the manufacturer's label when setting up your detector. That's because each is different, meaning you could be installing it on your ceiling or near a floor. Now, as for the second woman involved in Sunday's incident, she says that her condition is still, or they say rather, that her condition is still unknown. Investigators say she is still recovering. And we are still learning some more about yet another incident at Yellowstone National Park where a pair of visitors have been cited after trespassing on the prohibited area at Old Faithful Geyser. That happened last Friday, and one of the park's web cameras captured the incident. Here it is. According to a park ranger, other visitors alerted park officials who tracked down the violators after seeing this surveillance video. According to park officials, there are more than 10,000 hydrothermal features in the park, and more than 500 are geysers. This particular incident follows another case where a visitor fell into the thermal water at Old Faithful earlier this year. Still to come on Daybreak, starting the new year with some inspiration, how former President Jimmy Carter is still hard at work.
And skiing wherever you're going today will be great. Getting there, please use caution as roads are very slippery in spots. More on the forecast coming up next.
Time now for your storm tracker weather with meteorologist Curtis Grevens.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year to you all. We've got a new storm that continues to bring a variety of precipitation types here to the state. No variety in the wind, though. Everybody's dealing with some pretty strong wind. Winds gusting to 43 miles per hour. Right now in Great Falls, we had some gusts off of the Rocky Mountain front last evening through the overnight hours, up to about 70, even 80 miles per hour. Some rain showers around Great Falls. If you were to walk outside right now around the Capitol, you may see just plain old rain coming down. However, even though the air temperature right at about this level is 41 degrees down at the ground at your feet, temperature, because the ground is frozen, we still are looking at some icy conditions developing here. The wind, though, in the Capitol up to about 20 miles per hour. Look at the temperatures. Most locations that you see here on the map are above the freezing point. However, again, there are pockets where we're close to the freezing point, and of course we have that frozen ground. So even though if it's raining, some locations we've got a nice sheet of ice developing on the ground. I was a little facetious with the nice sheet of ice. But here's a look at the wind, and boy, some semis were toppled yesterday afternoon and evening. Interstate 90 was closed because of the wind near Livingston. It is open now, the interstate that is, but still dealing with a high wind warning. Flood advisory here, winter storm warning, and this is just new in the last few minutes, that bluish color, an avalanche warning, and that is for the mountains around the western part of the state. But flooding here in Great Falls because of an ice jam, and this is something that we're going to watch here going forward. The water levels continue to rise. Some ice is pushing up onto Riverside Park, and we'll have to watch the roads right alongside of the Missouri River here for maybe a little water building up north of 10th Avenue South. But here are the precipitation types. Do have some rain, but where you see that pink and also a little pink around the Capitol, that's where we've got that liquid rain coming down. And I say it's liquid because it's just normal rain, but then it freezes on contact. It freezes on the ground. So I had a little bit of that around the Helena Valley last night into this morning, also down there around Townsend. You can see that snow that continues to fly around Elliston, Avon. It was dumping snow earlier. We've got some snow up at Great Divide as well. 5 inches reported there. A little rain east of Great Falls, but again, some pockets up there around Geraldine and Chester here where you see that pinkish color. That's where we've got that liquid rain coming down, freezing on contact on the road surfaces here, so please be careful. Again, it's very spotty where we've got that ice coming down. Not a good day to drive all the way down through Salt Lake City here from Montana, but snow showers, snow squalls, rain showers in the lower elevations, that will continue through the morning hours into the afternoon. Here we go into tonight, still looking at some snow showers, and throughout the next several days, throughout the weekend, we'll still be looking at some wind. Thursday, some snow showers, a little sun mixed in there as well, and a lot of wind. Into Friday morning, may have a little snow in the western part of the state. So the weather will be very active heading through the new year. Look at all the mountain snow here, not much in the lower elevations, although there will be some snow showers coming through the lower elevations over the next several days. Cold front going through here today, so it will get cooler later on today, but how about highs for January 1st in the upper 40s? Very, very windy, and again, please be careful this morning because of the icy spots heading up over the mountain passes. We've got some snow for tomorrow. Snow showers, a little cooler. Friday, a little warmer. Very windy once again, and then getting into Saturday and Sunday of a cold front going through with some snow showers both days here, mainly over the mountains of western Montana, but very, very windy here over really the next 6 days in the Capitol. Tuesday, the wind likely will go calm here. And for Great Falls, 7 days of some pretty powerful winds.
All right, thanks for that. Wind and snow, sounds about right.
Yeah, for January in Montana.
Thanks a lot for that, Curtis. Well, if you thought Curtis was a hard worker, he's got nothing on former President Jimmy Carter, whose work project has built 21 homes this year in Nashville, Tennessee, a booming city where home prices are on the rise, causing a growing housing crisis. NBC's Cynthia McFadden has a story on how the former president keeps serving his country.
This has been the best week of my life.
A week Tara Morgan has been waiting for her whole life.
This is the master bedroom where I will sleep.
Earlier this fall, she showed us around the first home she has ever owned.
I feel the love.
Right there.
The folks at Habitat for Humanity chose Tara, a social worker with a master's degree, to join this new affordable neighborhood in Nashville, which one day will be home to 100 families, including her daughter, Kennedy.
All of my volunteers, I've asked them to either sign their name or to put their blessing over this house.
The best known of the Habitat volunteers, former President Jimmy Carter, who we found hard at work, his black eye from a fall fading.
You make 95 look pretty darn good.
The secret to going all, I tell them to marry the right spouse.
He surely did. Mrs. Carter by his side for 73 years. The volunteers make quick work of these new houses. Monday, they were slabs. By Thursday,
we don't hand out anything at Habitat except, I'd say, love and affection and equality and companionship.
That's good.
Which means Tara bought her home with a Habitat-arranged interest-free loan. Part of the deal, 250 hours of her sweat equity and classes on repairs and finances. A bittersweet moment. The former president telling us the day is coming when he'll have to step aside.
Garth is one of the strongest men I know.
It's our backyard, you know.
So that's where these two come in, Garth Brooks and Tricia Yearwood, who 13 years ago after Hurricane Katrina quietly started building.
I think this shows you what love can do. What happens when people want to do something together.
Are you getting good at this now?
I think I'm pretty good.
As for taking up where the Carters left off,
If we can do anything for the Carter build to last 100 years past the Carters, count us in.
That's so cute.
So, in a corner of the world where dreams really do come true, Tara, who lived in 9 or so places as a kid, this Christmas hung her wreath on her very own front door. Cynthia McFadden, NBC News, Nashville.
Coming up next, after being closed for 2 years, this northern Montana ski resort is back open for business.
And now, Daybreak continues.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for starting your new year here with us. Well, after being closed for the past 2 years, Teton Pass Ski Area in Choteau is now open under new ownership. MTN's Matt Halshoffel takes us to the top of the mountain where it took nothing short of a miracle for the resort to open up so quickly.
Up here at the top of the mountain is about 7,200 feet in elevation and about a 10-minute ski lift ride from down at the lodge. Since they've been closed for 2 seasons, Charles says the community sorely missed this ski lodge.
A lot of little towns along the front here
that come up here and people learning to ski. So I think it's a pretty important thing, and folks are really excited that we're open again.
The announcement that Teton Pass was opening on Saturday surprised a lot of people, but it was a welcome one.
My first thoughts when Chuck told me about it is I got goosebumps. That I was like, oh wow, you know, and I knew that this was something that he was, you know, hopeful, you know, towards pursuing the last couple years. But yeah, I was just ecstatic.
Randy's sentiments echoed the way most people felt about the news. But make no mistake, Charles, who does just about every job at the resort, bought it in August, and opening so soon was no small task.
It was a tremendous effort by a lot of individuals helping me out to get to the point of being able to open this year. A lot of that, you know, is the maintenance that goes into the chair lifts and the conveyor lifts and everything that we have to service the people getting uphill, as well as groomers, plow truck, you know, all the permitting that's required, as well as just getting everything staffed and everybody trained up.
A lot of people don't see everything that goes on behind the scenes here at Teton. While the resort was closed, profit became an issue. It was losing money, but things are looking up.
We just want to get this place sustainable and standing on its own 2 feet. You know, the past few years we operated, we were there doing pretty good, and unfortunately, you know, the sale of the ski hill caused things to sit for a couple of years, but we're going to jump right back in and hopefully pick up where we left off and do pretty well this year.
The current plan is to stay open every weekend until the end of April. On top of a mountain, Matt Holzaffel, MTN News.
Love that mountain, and absolutely amazing the work that they did to get the ski area open here this year. Let's take a look at the forecast. Who's going skiing here today? Be careful traveling. Yes, there will be snow up in the mountains. Had 5-6 inches of snow in the mountains. In the lower elevations off the Rocky Mountain front, rain and wind. Out the High Line, though, very spotty, icy conditions, so you may be driving around and run into a little slick spot on the roads here all the way out the High Line. Central Montana, some mixed rain and snow showers in the lower elevations, and right around the capital, heavy snow continues along the Continental Divide.
Thanks a lot for that, Curtis, and we'll wrap up this morning's top headlines when we come back.
You're watching Daybreak.
Welcome back, everybody. We'll wrap up Daybreak this morning with a recap of a few of our top stories. A phone scam going around Montana could be putting your personal information at risk. The Montana Highway Patrol has found the scams occurring so far in Billings and Missoula. Now, here's how it works. Someone uses the internet to look up tow truck companies near me. Now, so of course, several will pop up, but some of them are fake. They appear to be real, that is, they show pictures of a building, they even have fake positive reviews, but once you call the fake company, you're automatically transferred to a call center where they demand your credit card information. Attorney General Tim Fox says there's a couple of ways to protect yourself. Number one, never give your credit card information out over the phone, and demand to see letters of appointment from the Highway Patrol, which is a requirement of any tow truck business here in the state of Montana. And on Tuesday, the County Commission honored a well-respected Lewis and Clark County volunteer firefighter. Commissioners approved a proclamation recognizing Don Zimmerman, who passed away earlier this month after a battle with pancreatic cancer. He was a longtime firefighter, first in Washington State and then with York Fire Rescue. He became York's assistant chief. Now, leaders recognized him for his experience, knowledge, and for the work he did with other local first responders. Now, earlier this year, York Fire Rescue dedicated their station under construction in the El Dorado Heights area in Zimmerman's honor. The county recognized Saturday, January 4th as Don Zimmerman Day. A processional and memorial service will be held for him on that day. And a second murder charge has been filed against a man involved in a March shooting near Missoula. It left 2 people dead and 2 more with severe injuries. On Tuesday, Missoula County prosecutors filed a deliberate homicide charge against defendant Jonathan Birch in the death of victim Julie Blanchard. Blanchard died from her injuries in a Washington State hospital on June 3rd. Birch is now being charged with 2 counts of murder for the deaths of Blanchard and Shelley Hayes. He's also being charged with attempted murder in the shootings of Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Wade Palmer and Julie's son Casey Blanchard. A trial date for Birch has been set for August 2020. And now with one last look at our weather, Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
All right, so we've got some snow coming down in the higher elevations, some raindrops coming down in some of the valleys, and those raindrops are freezing on contact in some spotty areas here around the Helena Valley area. So please be careful. Even if you're not seeing flakes, you're just seeing raindrops. What's hitting the ground could be freezing again on contact. So got some rain showers off to the east of Great Falls. Look at this up along the High Line, that pink. That's where we could potentially be looking at some ice developing on the road surfaces. And even though it's green on the radar here from Havre out through Fort Belknap, there will be some pockets of some icy conditions. Here is the first 7-day forecast of 2020 for the capital. Mixed rain and snow showers here today. Some snow, heavy at times in the mountains over the mountain passes. So please be careful. The wind will continue with snow showers all the way into the weekend.
Thanks for that, Curtis, and thanks for making us a part of your morning. Catch us back here at 5, 6, and 10. Have a great rest of your day.